Well, let's see, is my sound up? It is. Well, cool. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 11th day of March, 2019. Well, being an 11, that's the master number for elimination, so we won't reduce that to a 2, although you can, but we're not going to. I tend to leave the master numbers alone, given their intense resonant energy, so we want to leave the 11 as it is. Although, with all that's come out over the last 3 days, the pictures and oh boy, you have to ask yourself. I was saying this to my husband last night. Did that Chinese madam lady, did she I mean, if that's what you want to call her, I don't really know what else to call a person who has all those. I mean, I know she sold this particular one by Mar-a-Lago, but still, she still seems to be in the business, and apparently she's part of a group that represents the Chinese Communist Party and all that stuff. So that's interesting. I guess their goal is a reunified China or something. Anyhow, she's part of that. But you wonder, why did she take all those pictures with all of the Republican, big name Republicans? Who said she could sell access to the president? So on this day of elimination, I'm not sure what else can come out. Maybe the Mueller report, maybe it comes out today. It didn't come out last week. Rumor has it that it's trying to come out, but there's a dispute on who wants to indict the president. So I don't know. That's what I read. We'll see if that ends up being true. They are characteristically tight-lipped there at the special counsel's office. So I don't know if maybe because we're at this point, maybe they don't care now, but I would think they do. So I don't know that that's a correct report, although it is going around that it's done, but that there's an argument over whether or not to indict the president. So, I think look, if you cannot indict a sitting president, then the sitting president can do anything he or she wants to do. They can break whatever the law they want to. And if there's not the will of the dominant party in Congress, then they're just going to get away with that. And I cannot believe the founding fathers. I mean, I just don't think they could foresee something like this. So whatever safeguards got put in the very beginning, all of that's got to be somewhat fluid because things change over time. Who could imagine what we have now? So to think that you can't indict a sitting president, well, that's wishful thinking. Because I think you can. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't. So to even have this discussion of where, oh no, can't do that, well, just because they've never had to address it this directly, this head on before, doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen. If the person in the highest office in the land, someone who is that position has always been touted as the leader of the free world, then that person, maybe more so than anyone else in this country, ought to be subjected to the rule of law, should never be exempt from it. And I guarantee you that if that's what happens in this country, oh boy, I think that what we're seeing, you can say that he is a catalytic presence, which he is, but what you can also say is he's giving us a window into a level of corruption that we can't have. We just can't have it. The nepotism alone is too much. It's not helping this country. It's not helping the world. It puts everyone at risk when you have a president that cannot be contained or corralled or prosecuted. Well, Who thought that up? It wasn't a woman, I can tell you that. So anyhow, so in this day of illumination, I wonder what's going to happen. I woke up to, we're supposed to get up in the 40s today. And so what Alaskans call the breakup is about to begin. It actually kind of started last week, but then, you know, we just haven't had the temperatures come up and stay up. And so I guess in a week's time, we're going to be up to about 50. So I think all of the snow will be gone. There'll be patches of it, though, everywhere because we've got some shaded areas. So I'm going to have some areas where it's going to take quite a while before that snow is going to go. And that was true up in Alaska, too, when I was growing up there. It takes time. Up there, it took time for the breakup to happen. And I mean, you could hear it. There's a sound to it, you know, as ice is breaking up. But that's why they call it the breakup. And so I was telling it to my husband. I says, well, the breakup's happening. He's just looking at me like, he was born and raised here in Oregon, so he doesn't have that same winter experience that I have. He grew up, of course, now in Portland. In the Portland area, they have the silver thaw, which is not fun. It's just total ice, and it's beautiful, but it's very destructive and it's dangerous, and you know, I just hated it. I hated that part of living in Portland. So I was much happier moving over here. But at the same time, you know, I still have at least a foot of snow out there. I say that not because it's melted so much as it's compacted. So, you know, you can almost kind of walk on the top of it without sinking all the way down now. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's all coming off the trees now. And today, I'm sure whatever's left on there, other than I have a fir tree out front here that looks like it's got just a white dress on the bottom of it, or wearing a white skirt, you know, because it's got a branch that sort of hangs down toward the ground, and the snow is just piled, you know, probably 10 inches deep on it still. It's so thick, and so it's going to take a while for that one to come off. But as soon as I can get over to it, you know, then I'll be able to maybe help it along. So we'll be out surveying the damage and getting out the chainsaw and our gloves, and we'll have to clean all that up. And then we have to turn our attention to our pasture and getting that ready to burn. Irrigation starts the middle of April. And given that this is the 11th, you know, we've only got just a little over a month. So lots to do here. Now that the winter has decided to finally, you know, come and go in the blink of an eye. That was interesting. Could have done without it. But, you know, Central Oregon is up on the high desert, and we're very, very dry here because it's the high desert. You know, there's not a lot of water, and we don't get a lot of rain. So when we do get snow that blankets like this, the year that we did a couple years ago, when it stayed for 3 months, oh man, that was great. It had the best effect on the garden and everything that was growing around here. It was just incredible. Things came up that we hadn't seen come up naturally in a long time. So, you know, when you don't get a lot of rain, then something like this is actually a good thing. So on the one hand, you know, it's a hassle, but on the other, you know, it's not. So it's better for the plants, and really, come spring, I'm going to be a lot happier. So anyhow, you know, we're not going to complain too much. And lastly, I'm getting 10 eggs a day. So I'm back to selling eggs. I've got a lady that I sell them to, and then, well, she collects them for other people, basically. So she collects them. I call her and I give her an egg count, you know, every 2 weeks. And although if I get all 15 laying, then I might have to do that every week. But and she said, anytime, just call me. So anyhow, we're back to doing that. You know, because you know they don't lay in the wintertime unless they're chicks in the spring, and then they do, because they don't really tend to molt, you know, right out of the following winter when they're first born. They don't molt, and so we had eggs all year long, and this is the first time we haven't. And so So uh, everyone's like, oh, thank God, your eggs, thank God. I, I guess one lady, she told us, was getting them at, I don't know where, some organic market or something, because she wants it to be totally organic, which ours are, you know. Um, and uh, we don't, I mean, they really are, you know, cage free, free range, you know, although they're in a large pen, it's still, they're not contained. They can do what they want, go, you know, whatever they want. Anyhow, she was paying $8 a carton for them, which I just think is incredibly nuts. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. That's taking advantage, I think. You know, supply and demand. So we're going to raise the price. Well, my God, you know, to me that's just not right. So I don't charge that. So in fact, I do it just to get some money toward my feed. And I don't even break even on it. But that's okay. It gives us some eggs to have, and I can share them with other people. So it's what happens when you take your husband with you to the feed store when the chickens are in, when the baby chicks are in. I really thought I was going to get 6, and we ended up leaving with 15. And I tried to remind him, but honey, you know, there's only 2 of us in the house now. But he was excited. He's like, I'm getting chickens, you know. So they lived in my house. I mean, in my house, in a one of those round horse troughs, watering troughs. Yeah, I had it in my kitchen, and then I had it in one of the bedrooms. I had it in there. Eventually, they were just in at night, and then eventually, you know, we built them their own coop and their own pen and all of that, and they were just out there, and that was much better. But you know, I mean, we dragged that thing out every day, and then we'd create this little pen for them in the front yard, and they were just adorable, you know, when they were growing. But now they're stately matronly hens. We're going to build them a swing. Chickens are awesome. They just are. They're just awesome. They're fun. And if you ever see them with a tomato hornworm, oh, it's on. They all chase the one. They're running around, you know, and they're all chasing the one with the tomato hornworm. I don't even know how it got in the pen, but there it was. Must have fallen out of one of the trees. But big old green worm, you know, and the second it hit the ground, one had it, and oh my goodness, everyone's chasing her. It was hilarious. Well, I guess that's enough chatting about my chickens. We can get started. If you haven't been here before, welcome. What I used to do was 1 card in 1 rune, and now I end up doing usually 3 cards in 1 rune. But I do them. I don't lay out 3 all at once. I do 1 at a time, and I don't take the top card. I take the 13th. That's just my process. Nothing anyone else has to do. But just like to take a look at the different influences the tarot cards bring every day, and also then how that juxtaposes with the runes. So usually what I do in the beginning, I shuffle a little bit and talk a little bit and visit, and then we get going. So let's do that. Count 13 and see what we have for today. I sat down here and I dropped half of them on the floor. That was fun. I thought I had them all, and then there was still one. I just happened to notice one under my left foot, and it was Justice. So I'm like, oh my God. Let's want to get that out of there. I write a blog called Stepping Aside. If you haven't been there, check that out over at imsteppingaside.com. I started a series, a tarot series on the queens, and I have a ton of decks, and so I was going through all of them, trying to figure out just which ones I wanted to look at and compare. So I ended up with 7, which is nutty, but you know, usually you don't want to do that many. But I just think that the queens, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and just take a look at the queens and all the different decks and see how the different traditional and non-traditional tarot reader or tarot authors, how they conceive of this woman, right? And so I started writing it on Friday, which was International Women's Day, and I've got the Queen of Swords up. I'm currently doing the Queen of Cups, and so I've got queens everywhere. And I took one of the decks I used was the Rider Waite, and so I had to pull all the queens out and then put them back in for today. But I've already taken all the pictures, everything of all the different spreads, and so so today I think probably today I'll finish the Queen of Cups. And then I'm going to kind of play it by ear because I don't know what all this melting is going to be like. I know as soon as we can get out there, my husband's going to want to do that. And, because we're running out of time here. I mean, we literally have a month before irrigation starts. And so we really need to get certain things done, right? And so I'm not sure how quickly I'm going to get all 4 posts up, but it'll be 4 posts on the queens. And again, I believe I'll finish cups today sometime, and then I'll just have wands and earth to do. So, so check that out if you like. I'd love you to do that. Again, the monthly tarot and monthly geomancy readings are up, and lunar transits go up on the blog every couple of days. So today we have though the 2 of Cups. You can see the caduceus and the lion, the winged lion above. 2 is about polarity, duality, balance, reciprocity, decisions. But here you have the cups, which is which represents emotions. It's the water element. You see a young couple coming together. They're likely exchanging vows. It could also indicate balanced emotions or healing, the healing of a relationship if it's not, coming together in a marriage or anything. You don't see anything else around them, so it may not be a marriage. It could just be that they're coming together in unity, in love, exchanging, kindness, maybe. I mean, it could be, the declaring of a relationship between the two, the healing of differences, healing maybe something within, if you're experiencing maybe conflict within. So I mean, it can mean between 2 people, but it could also mean within the self as well. Healing of polarity. But let's pull another card and see what it can add to this. I mean, it's kind of a simplistic scene, really, because they're sitting or they're standing. I mean, they're out away from the town, and there's nobody else around them. You don't see any kind of celebration. You don't see, usually with a celebration, you're going to see the poles, and you're going to see the garland, the flowered garlands and things like that. You're going to see that. There's going to be something indicative of some kind of a celebration. And that's why I'm not sure that that's really what's going on here, but just maybe the healing of differences, the healing of emotions, the healing of differences between the 2 people, or the declaration of love between the 2 people, coming together in equality and unity, declaring their union, their commitment maybe. Well, I don't like this card. It's the 5 of Swords. Here we see 2 people with their backs to another guy here in front. And you can see the look on his face. He's smiling. He clearly won the argument. You can see some sketchy brown clouds in the sky. You see the water in the background, a little bit choppy. You see 2 swords on the ground. He's got 2 over his shoulder and he's picking up 1. You see the one in the guy in the very closest to the water. He's hanging his head, holding his head, and he seems to be bereft. Here you've likely had a conflict of some kind, the war of words, maybe. That maybe we're seeing the healing of differences here. So I think if we're going to look at this in terms of time, you know, past, present, future, it could be simply that we had an argument with somebody and we're coming back together now in unity with that person or people. But the Five of Swords, you know, five is change. And so something's changed. There's been some kind of an argument or conflict or interaction here, because swords is the air element and the intellect. So reason, communication, interaction, balance, fairness, something has happened. And it's almost like the guy in front is picking up the spoils. And it just feels like, you know, he's doing it, you know, while laughing at them. Like he feels superior somehow, you know, that he's so excited about winning the argument. So I'm wondering if maybe something else is going to happen here that we can, because I don't know, I don't think we have enough, you know, we really don't. How did we get here? So either we were here and things are breaking down, or but this feels like the outcome. This feels like this is what finally happened. So I think we've got another card either before this one or after that's going to give us a little more information here. Well, that card I dropped on the ground. Well, we have the card 2 of the major arcana, the High Priestess. So again, we see the 2 pillars. Her foot rests on a crescent moon. She holds a book of knowledge, it looks like, in her hand. Well, it's the Torah, actually. So yes, the book of knowledge. Sometimes it takes my eyes a bit to focus when I'm looking. I'm looking at the card in the screen, actually. So I'm not seeing the card as much as I'm looking at it in the screen. So I'm using the light from my screen to see it. But you can see all the greenery behind her. And I'm not sure if those, if these might be representative of pomegranates. Let me set that back down. But I only say that because pomegranates figure into, you see them a lot. You see them a lot. And it's just, I'm just not sure. The way they draw them is odd. But I suspect that those are pomegranates behind her. I think it was either that or they were strawberries, but I don't think so. I think they're pomegranates. And you see that as a theme throughout ancient literature. That pomegranates are I think that they're listed. I don't know if they're just metaphor or what they're for. I used to know. Let's see. I forget what pomegranate signified. Let me see if I can see that. Well, I don't have that on here. I don't remember. Let's see. Well, I want to know, so I'm going to take a moment here. Get the other laptop out. I don't have the one program on this particular computer that I'm using. Let me get my mouse and let me see, because I want to know. I had it and I didn't remember it. Go to Grimoire, go to Tarot, go to Symbol Cheat Sheet. Let's see if it was on here. Yes, pomegranate, abundance, fertility, but there was something else. Oh, union. Okay, that was what it was. Generosity and union. So it's about it's signifying union. I thought that was just an odd thing, but when you think about it in terms of the 2, it's not so odd, is it? And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see 7 of them visible. So there you're looking at a certain level of balance there, because 7 is also about balance, not just 2. I'm glad I went and looked it up. I wasn't going to do that. I'm thinking, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So thank you for your patience there. But I wanted to see, I mean, sure, fertility and love and abundance and all of that, but there was something else I remembered about it, and it was unity. I mean, duh, it's right there. The unity of the shadow side of self with spirit. So I think we can safely say that the reading then on a what happened first level. I hate to use time. Time's an illusion, but on a what happened first level in this scenario, I think it's the 5. I think we had an issue where maybe the truth wasn't clear, and maybe somebody won out that maybe shouldn't have, because it just, he looks way too gleeful to have any kind of dignity about whatever just happened. You know, you have an argument with somebody, I mean, you might feel vindicated, and you know that may be what this is, but do you really want to gloat the way he seems to be? You know, do it in private if you want to, but I certainly wouldn't do it while people are grieving or upset. I would have a little bit of dignity, you know, a little bit of decorum, and not gloat at what just happened. But clearly something happened, and it was significant. And it involves, you know, some kind of interaction that you've had with somebody else. And either you're the one that's bereft by the water, or you're the one that's picking up the spoils. But either way, it's kind of telling us that how we come across matters, and how we process, or how we conduct ourselves when we're winning, when we won something, if that's what you want to call that. I don't really call that winning, but in a sense, you know, he may have won. He's picking up the spoils while no one else is paying attention because they're caught up in their own thing. But then, you know, you have higher self tapping you on the shoulder with the major arcana card, the high priestess, and she's basically saying, look, you have to live life in balance. I mean, she's more than this, of course. She's the feminine divine. She's about intuition. Crowley's card, and I may do a high priestess card. I like looking at the women in tarot, and so I may do also not just a queen one. I'll probably do the princess, and I'll probably do uh, other women. I might do the strength and the empress and temperance and things like that. But I may also do take a look at the high priestess as well. She's just a very dynamic card. You know, she's the counterpart to the magus, or the magician, and she comes before the empress, and so we're still talking about how we're manifesting here into form. And with her, we're talking intuition and wisdom and secret knowledge, a wise counselor, uh, far more depth than the magician. The magician is somebody that's still within the alchemical process of creation. Here, you know, when we get to the Empress, she's manifesting form, right? She's manifesting creation. But the High Priestess is basically putting the finishing touches on whatever alchemical process the magician has done. Uh, and she's about dreams and inner wisdom. She's inspiration, and again, intuition, perception. She's also stillness and alignment. So she's basically the coalescence of the alchemical creative aspect of the magician. She's the one that's coalescing all of it and getting it ready for manifestation. And so when we do that, when we want to when we're coalescing our thoughts, basically, as they're scattered about here, we're coalescing our thoughts into some kind of aligned manifestation that then now is going to come out in terms of healing and reunion and union and reciprocity. And whatever happened here we learned a thing or two here, and now we're able to manifest this. You know, I'm gonna grab a rune. I think here it's time, I think, to do that, but and see what influence it has or how it can tie all of this together. You know, maybe you've had an argument with someone, or maybe amongst friends, or a disagreement, and everyone's sort of had to take a step back because maybe some, you know, like we have today, it's an 11 days, so some illumination we've been having. Like I said, maybe you've learned some things over the last few days. I know societally we have. So maybe the argument we've been having, you know, if this is on a societal level, maybe the argument is starting to become maybe less so. And maybe some things that, you know, no, he's this, no, he's that, maybe some of that's going to be resolved. I think with the presence of the high priestess, what it's telling us that whatever this pertains to, whether it's on a personal level or it's something more, you know, societal, you have to go within sometimes to figure out, okay, what really happened? What's really the truth of the matter? You can look at all of the evidence, but at the same time, there has to be an aspect of that you're looking at it through an inner voice. You know, we don't always want to believe what we see, especially if it's a truth we don't want to know. If it makes us reconsider everything we believe. But surely we also know that that's just part of living. That's just part of life. It's part of growth, that, you know, we can go along thinking something and all of a sudden realize, oh boy, were we ever wrong. And that could be, you know, what's happening with the goal of the ultimate reunion of people that maybe were once in conflict. So, you know, if we can hope for anything out of this nightmare that's going on in our country, if this is referring to that, it's that we can all come back together when we all realize what the truth of this is, no matter what it is, that we can all come back together in love and unity with one another, in reciprocity, in reunion, you know, not just unity, but reunion. Because I think that that experience of coming back together, you know, with the realization that, hey, you know, sometimes we can all get it wrong. It's not just that one person got it wrong, but we can all get it wrong, you know. So I think that once we understand that it might not be me today, but tomorrow it might be, you know, that gets it wrong, well, we need to realize that that can happen, that we can all become caught up in what we think the truth is and stand for it and argue about it and, you know, come to blows about it and, you know, lose friends over it. But at the end of the day, when the truth is revealed, we have to let that resonate. And if it means that we have to change what we believe, then so be it. I don't know. It's just what you do. Well, the rune for today is I was, which happens to be the 13th rune of the Elder Futhark. 13 I regard as the master witch number, but that's just me. I'm sure no other numerologist does that. Most probably reduce it to 4 or structure. But it's reminding us that our true structure is an as above, so below structure. It's reminding us that we are both spirit and form and ego. There's the physical side of self, and then there's the greater aspect of self, which is more than what this body is. Because at the same time it's here, it's other places in other bodies as well, other expressions of tangible form. All of that, you know, we have the sense of time. We have that sense of the passage of time, but it's an illusion. Everything happens all at once, and we're just reviewing it and making changes and making choices within all of it. All potentialities, all possibilities have already happened. It all happened at once when the Great Mother or the Creator breathed out life, and now we're resting in the Great Mother's breath, as it's said. the creator has no gender, but, if Christians can view it as, and everyone else can view it as a male God, I can view it as the Great Mother. So there you go. I love I was. I was is useful in bind runes. It can be useful as they consider it the backbone of bind runes, holds it all together. And when you think about the as above, so below aspect of this, where we're talking spirit and physical form. The little hook there on either end of it sort of holds all those energies together. It almost represents, in my view, it almost represents, well, it does, it represents the reality of who we are, probably more so than any other rune in the Elder Futhark, because, it's saying, look, we are spirit. That's what's informing this entire process. That's what's making all of this happen. That's what's projecting this form into being is spirit. And it's anchoring itself within that structure. Look at the rune grimoire and see if there's anything I forgot to say about this. I love this rune. I use it a lot. Well, it seems to come up a lot, but because I generally, when I do bind runes, I just start pulling, I set my intention and just start pulling runes. I don't, pay attention really. I don't choose them, but once in a while I do. If I want to do something really specific, or if it's in a magical working or something and I need to have something anchor something together, I'll use I was on the altar during that. But yeah, the rune of paradox is both fire and air. You could also say that it's earth, if you're looking at the lower part of it. But it's basically the connection between opposites, and that's where I said the as above, so below. Link between worlds. It's useful in trance work. Helps you to understand fate. When you're, it's like I hear this expression, oh, I just give it to God, as if there's an unseen force controlling everything that we do. No, we have free will. We're deciding every moment what we want our world to look like. Now, collectively, we've all come together and we've, made this, snowpocalypse that's outside. But we've decided what our Earth is going to look like and what, how it's all going to be structured and what's all going to be put in it and all of that. We've decided that on a collective consciousness level. So, but individually, we have the ability to experience what's here as a series of choices. And so we choose service to self, service to others as a theme, one of the two. But from there, then we do we explore our life and our world and how well and how real we make it, I say is how much our ego is in play, and that's typically what's in play here. We make all of this real. It's all the only thing that is, and we work our way back to God. Well, no, we are God. We are the creator. We're just a point of the creator's aspect of sight of self, focused into form in that basic, point of light, that coordination point of light. That's who we are. So consequently, when you look at I was, and I guess why I think it's the rune that actually describes that process of who we are, and how I think it relates to the two, both on the High Priestess and on the Two of Cups, is that when these things are in play, this sort of resolves itself, doesn't it? If we take this 13th rune and numerologically bring it down to a 4, that's a multiple of 2, which you can look at the truth of this together. Okay? I mean, you can add them together. Numerologically, you get a 4, which is the numerology of this. I was going to go in a different direction, and then I saw that synchronicity. So I had to stop and think about this for a second. But if you have if you have conflict with others, the assumption is that if you're in conflict, you're not seeing the truth of the matter. Someone within the conflict may be seeing the truth of the matter, but someone in there isn't. So just because this guy in front looks like he won the debate or won the outcome here, maybe it got people thinking and considering just what that costs them in the long run. Now, change can be difficult. You can have a whole lot of conflict, a whole lot of nonsense going on. It can be really intense. But then the outcome, when all is said and done and the dust settles and everything clears up and people have a chance to think about what it all was, sometimes, you can come back to the table and, with maybe a little more humility than how things maybe started out. I think the High Priestess is telling us, and when you look at the High Priestess and the Two of Cups, the Two of Cups is the natural result of the High Priestess. If you go within and you start thinking about, how am I going to coalesce spirit into form? How am I going to do that? How am I going to take who I am as spirit and have that affect my interactions and how I see things? How do I do that? How do I make that happen? It doesn't happen in conflict. It's like if things start ratcheting up, stand back. Say, okay, wait. Why is this happening? How did we get here? Let's not go here. Let's stop. Let's either, take a moment, maybe, get out of, maybe we each go to our own corners or something, maybe let's do that or do something to break the focus of whatever is ratcheting up. Because if it is, know that it's happening through ego and not because higher self thinks it's a good idea. Higher self is going, oh, well, there she goes again, or there he goes again. Can't really, trying to grab them back, but no, they're not listening. They're focused in, on whatever illusion, whatever movie, whatever book they're reading, if whatever you want to call it, because that's largely what this is. And if we could just know that, then maybe the things that we think are so serious enough to divide us, maybe they wouldn't. If we could just know the truth of all of this, that this is all a collective illusion that we're playing out together. We can play out any one we want. You see? We can make this be anything we want. And if we just understand how we manifest all of this, what the true impetus of it is, which is spirit, which is the soul, which is the collective consciousness, the unity consciousness of source energy or the creator or God or whatever you want to call that creative essence. That's all that is. And when you do that, though, see, when you remember who you are, healing is possible. So on this day of illumination, we need to remember who we are. Because we might play at this, but we aren't this. We need to get back to anchoring spirit into form. If we can do that, then healing and reciprocity and reunion are possible. See, and it's all because I stopped to look up what a pomegranate was. Yeah. I knew fertility and abundance, but, one of the keys here in this card, and I didn't see it until I just looked at it again, with the magnifying glass. Sometimes my husband bought me this. I love this thing. It's got LED lights on the other side of it, and he bought me this for my cards. You get old and you can't see. You just can't see anymore. Anyway, when you see the 7 that are there, you have to really look to see the other 2. It looks like there's just 5, but in fact there's 7. And 7 is a number of balance, and we've talked about that before. 7 uh, to me are depicted by the scales, where you have that, you have the one in the middle. The other thing that is reminiscent of that is the 7 cosmic rays, and the 4th ray is known as kind of the position of rest for the other 3. You've got the 3 monadic ones, and then you've got the 4th, and then you've got the 3 that are, they're mostly about physical form. And so what the 4th one does is it's almost like the point of rest, or the pivot point, where you then sit and you take a look, a dispassionate look at what's really going on. And so in a sense, that's what the high priestess represents, because she's just sitting there going, okay, let's take a look at this now. And she's using her inner wisdom, her inner knowledge. She's using the voice of spirit to tell her just exactly what the truth is of all of this. And when you see the and I don't know how to pronounce the B and the J. they're it's Hebrew. But basically, you're looking at the balance of dark and light. And then you can see the 7, what I think are pomegranates behind her. See, and all that led to that, see? Well, mostly it was I that did it, but I just love this because it does. It's just, it feels like it anchors us into tangible form. It just anchors that whole energetic focus, if you will, into form. So anyhow, well, that's cool. Not bad for a Monday. If you're working magic today, this is cycles, this is feminine mysteries, this is, you know, intuition, meditation. I always like Monday magic to be where I'm trying to see what's hidden, you know. Easy thing to do today, being an 11 day. So you might do something like that if you're so inclined. Work a little magic to aid and foster and support illumination, maybe, so we can get even more clarity about the day spas. Well, it's never a dull moment in this country, is it? Look, if it wasn't human trafficking, you know, I actually believe that sex workers ought to be, it ought to be a protected profession. It ought to be legal. Um, it's what we do anyway. As humanity, we do this sort of thing. I just think that to traffic women is it's illegal, number one, and it's inhumane. It's abusive. It's disrespectful. It's oh, I mean, God, you know, there's no words really to describe what it is. Nothing adequate that can describe what women and children and are put through when they're trafficked, because it's always women and children, you know. And so, you know, you want to make something like that legal. You want to protect them. You want to give them health benefits. You want to give them, you know, you want to make it a respectable situation. Well, then make it a respectable situation, but don't do this. So, well, I guess we're going to find out just all who's involved. But again, all those pictures that were taken, what was the point of that? I don't think it was for a scrapbook. So, anyhow, live and learn. So thanks so much for coming by. If it's your first time, welcome. And please, I'd love you to click subscribe. That'd be awesome. If you come back again, thank you. Thank you for sticking with me on this as we talk about different tarot cards and different runes and how they might influence our lives on a daily basis. I do this 4 days a week, if you don't know, Monday through Thursday. I take Friday, Saturday, Sunday off with my husband. And now that the snow is going to be melting, we're going to be extra busy for a while. So probably won't have too much time to spend together other than out there, cleaning up the mess that Mother Nature left. So anyhow, that's okay. We have to do it every year. It'll just be a little more this year, that's all. And maybe the trees needed to have a little pruning anyway. So it's all a win-win. So we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Blessed be.